From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
When could new tariffs go into effect on some of our top ag trading partners? President Trump sets a date. As Farm Journal lands another exclusive interview with the Ag Secretary, the latest on when farmers could see aid payments.
It looks like we're going to be able to beat that.
As USDA makes big predictions for spring planting.
The economics certainly suggest that corn acres should increase dramatically this year.
We're tracking all of it right now on AgDay.
AgDay is brought to you by Pioneer. Next level yields start with genetics proven to perform. Pioneer. Next level yields start here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We have several developing stories to get to this morning, starting with the latest predictions from USDA when it comes to how many acres farmers will be planting this spring. The agency holding its annual Ag Outlook Forum. It's forecasting that farmers will plant more acres of corn this year and fewer of soybeans, calling for 94 million acres of corn. That's up from 90.6 million last year. And soybean acres come in at 84 million, down from 87.1 million in 2024. It's also calling for wheat plantings to be at 47 million acres, which is up from 46.1. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins me. Michelle, that corn number is pretty big.
It is, Clinton, but USDA's forecast came in largely as expected with the increase in corn acreage and balance sheets and lower soybean acres and stocks. Remember, these numbers are model, not survey-based, and while they may reflect March intentions, weather will play a big role in the acreage mix as well as yield, so the estimates need to be taken with a grain of salt. USDA confirmed what the market already knew. Farmers are going to plant more corn this year due to better potential profits. USDA is penciling in 3.5 million more acres, which is not a surprise.
If you look at corn acres just from 2 years ago, we were 94.6. I have a hard time believing we'll go below that, quite frankly. The economics certainly suggest that corn acres should increase dramatically this year.
USDA also pegged soybean acreage down over 3 million acres with base price guarantees for crop insurance nearly $1 under last year.
The soy to corn ratio is as low as it's been in 15 years. And so, with that being the case, you've got to expect a lot of growers are going to shy away from soybeans.
However, there is skepticism about achieving USDA's record 181 corn yield.
Usually when you're getting bigger acres planted, you're getting a lot of the fringe areas gaining those acres, and they normally don't account for a record yield.
With bigger acreage, corn ending stocks were raised 425 million bushels, but are still below 2 billion and may be inflated.
Last year, we were well over 2 billion bushels on that lookout. So it's not near as bearish as what we were talking about last year on the corn.
Carryover, USDA is suggesting 1.965, but if we keep in mind that over the last 5 years, they've actually been too high on this Outlook Forum number in February versus what the final number was.
Soybean carryover was also lowered 60 million bushels, reflecting 3 million less acres.
With the lower acres, overall production is going to be a bit lower, and in the end, it just leads to lower stocks. So that's the difference there on the soybean side.
For wheat, USDA is projecting nearly 1 million more acres and raised final ending stocks 32 million bushels. Cotton acreage will drop over 1 million acres to 10 million. When it comes to price impact, USDA lowered corn prices 15 cents, soybeans 10 cents, and wheat a nickel. But the chief economist thinks the markets have bottomed.
Months ago, things were getting pretty bad pretty fast. Hopefully we've hit a bottom on some of this and seeing a little bit of rebound and maybe a little bit better on demand on corn, seeing a little bit of these rebounds. So I'm kind of hopeful that maybe that things aren't going to get a bunch worse on the crop side.
However, Meyer admits their forecasts don't take into account tariffs and may need to be adjusted down the road. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
Happening later today, the Secretary of Ag, Brooke Rollins, will speak at the Ag Outlook Forum, where she'll focus on a number of challenges her administration hopes to address in the coming months. But before that, she spoke exclusively with Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan. From rolling out a $1 billion plan to tackle high-path avian flu to working with the Department of Government Efficiency, the list is significant for Rollins. USDA now forecasting overall farm sector profits to rise in 2025, with net farm incomes in at $180.1 billion. But that includes all of agriculture. On the row crop side of the aisle, the story is much different. Take a look at this. It shows output prices, or an index of crop prices versus input prices over the past 2 years. You can see crop prices are down and falling while inputs remain at an elevated level. Tyne speaking by phone with Rollins about those numbers.
Obviously, inflation, the cost of energy, has absolutely decimated our producers. The input cost is up 30%. So when you've got all of these different factors that are basically piling on at one time, it's no surprise that sorghum, cotton, and so many others are really hurting right now, and we've got to do something about that. Of course, my perspective and the president's perspective is, how do we achieve this through broader access to markets, broader access to capital, making sure that that the cost of inputs goes down. Hopefully with our energy plan, we see that happening almost immediately.
Some of that help could come from the American Relief Act of 2025. It provided USDA with nearly $31 billion to deliver financial assistance to crop and livestock farmers experiencing economic losses and natural disasters. Now, $10 billion of that is for a one-time payment to row crop producers due to low prices and higher inputs. Rollins says those payments will be delivered soon.
Congress gave us until March 21st is the ideal deadline. It looks like we're going to be able to beat that, so it should be just around the corner.
Now, according to analysis by the Food and Agriculture Policy Research Institute, this is what those payment estimates could look like on a per acre basis. Roughly $42 per acre for corn, $30 for soybeans, and $87 for cotton. For more of Time's interview with Secretary Rollins, make sure to check out agweb.com. Also developing, President Trump setting the date for when tariffs will go into effect on Mexico and Canada, along with additional duties on China. Thursday, he said 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian goods are set to take effect on March 4th. And that's the same date of a newly proposed additional 10% on Chinese imports. The initial 10% tariff on Chinese goods went into effect earlier this month. The president saying on his social media site that the tariffs were needed to stop illegal drugs from pouring into the country, including fentanyl. Most of the country is continuing to see warmer temperatures. How much longer could it last? We get an update from meteorologist Jack Van Meter.
Let's take a look at the current temperatures for this afternoon. As we can see, a big warm up in store, especially for the central southern portion of our country. We can see that Tulsa almost getting at 80 degrees or 79 degrees. Memphis, 72 degrees. St. Louis, 73 degrees. And even Chicago tapping in some of the warmer fashion there. 56 degrees as that high temperature. We're watching that ridging start to really take hold and really push a lot of warmer air northwards. But as we can see, still going to be cooling down going into the overnight hours, and especially to start off tomorrow morning. So we can see a pretty big blast of colder air going to be moving down off of Canada, really cooling everybody down tomorrow morning. And as we can see, warming up for some folks tomorrow. But again, if you're on the eastern portion of the country, still going to be fairly cold. Take a look at that gradient there. 38 degrees in Cincinnati, only 73 degrees in Atlanta. And check out this dairy cow giving a little love. Kevin McSweeney of Fort Collins, Colorado, showing the attention his dog gets on the farm. Something tasty about that dog's ear, apparently. How about that? Well, I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Not the news farmers want to hear when it comes to pollinators. A new survey reports catastrophic honeybee colony losses across the country. The Honeybee Health Coalition says commercial operations reported an average loss of 62% between June of last year and this month, with hobbyist beekeepers losing about 50% of their colonies. Now, the coalition says the losses, which surpass historical trends, could significantly impact U.S. ag, particularly when it comes to almonds, fruits and vegetables. One beekeeper saying the scale of the losses is completely unsustainable, adding that if we continue to see losses at this rate, we won't be able to sustain current food production. $80 billion. That's how much Ukraine's ag minister said his country's ag sector has suffered as a result of the war with Russia. The ag minister presenting his findings during a World Bank report presentation. He added the figure includes not only direct damage, but also increased costs of fertilizer, fuel, as well as what it takes to reclaim land and demine it. As we've reported before, agriculture plays an important role in the nation's economy, contributing about 20% of its GDP. The ag minister saying the restoration of agriculture in the country must begin today, and a key priority is helping farmers in frontline territories. Corn and wheat seeing a double-digit drop on Thursday following the release of USDA's latest numbers. We'll take a look at market reaction next. And later, we look at the banana industry and what farmers get paid. It's a Fresh Produce Friday after weather. Corn and soybeans slid following those acreage predictions at this year's Ag Outlook Forum. Michelle Rook is back with further analysis in Markets Now.
Graded livestock futures mostly lower on Thursday, except for cattle. Darren Fry, Water Street Solutions, is with us. And Darren, let's talk about the grains. Pressure over there, substantial pressure in corn and wheat, but we had a lot of things to digest. USDA's acreage numbers, we had first notice day, and then tariffs.
I think it came in the order of, hey, it's first notice day. People that were looking for a bounce ahead of that didn't get it. And so there was liquidation. But in addition to that, you had President Trump talking about tariffs that were maybe going to be extended out till April 2nd. As early as Wednesday, he was talking about that. And then on Thursday, he said, no, March 4th. And so that's going to affect Canada, Mexico, EU, even China. There were some additions made there. And so I think those two things together really got the market going. The outlook for him, is kind of what people expected. We expected maybe a few more corn acres, a few more wheat acres, definitely less bean acres. I'm not sure that was a big surprise, but it was another reason to be risk off yesterday as we moved into this Friday first notice day.
Well, corn and wheat took the brunt of the selling pressure. Soybeans not so much because of the 3 million less acres. But do you think corn and wheat will be able to bounce back now after first notice day is over?
Well, I do. I think so. Corn will be the leader out of here. It's been the leader thus far. Wheat was a lot weaker yesterday than I thought it should have been. It's still okay on the charts, but it really needs to stop the bleeding, cauterize itself, and start moving higher. I think corn will do that. I think we'll see a bounce here. And of course, beans, they didn't act too bad yesterday. So they were kind of just watching from the sidelines there as corn and wheat tried to wreck themselves.
At cattle higher, hogs sharply lowered. The livestock reacted to the tariff news too, right?
Yeah, it sure did. The hogs were up sharply on Wednesday with the talks of postponing tariffs. And then, of course, once that news came out that no, March 4th is it, they went down. I think they were down, 400 plus points in the April, 330 in the June. So they got hit pretty hard. Cattle rebounded. It really looks nice. Feeders are leading. Imports are down from Mexico. And so we got to take a look at how that's going to unfold. But feeders look good.
All right. Thanks so much for your analysis, Darren for Water Street Solutions. We'll have more Ag Day coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rook on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
Here's the radar image for today. We are going to be watching a clipper system move through portions of the Great Lakes states. It's going to give actually some folks some snow, but mainly rain as that forecast. And that's actually going to start ushering in those cold temperatures. Again, a fairly weak system, but really the main factor in that system is going to be the cold air moving down and really cooling off the entire country. And pretty much on Sunday, fairly quiet day, but take a look. There's a little piece of energy that is starting to move off of the Pacific Ocean, and what that's going to do is reverberate through much of the country into next week. And as we can see, a couple of rain showers moving across into the Texas Panhandle. And what that's going to start doing is really start intensifying moisture, pulling a lot of water and moisture off of the Gulf, moving it northwards. And what that's going to do is going to actually start to intensify for parts of the week. So much so that even this far out, the Storm Prediction Center is predicting some stronger thunderstorms that might be developing, especially in parts of the deep south. We're talking portions of eastern Texas spanning all the way out into portions of Tennessee there. So again, just make sure we are being on alert Tuesday and into Wednesday evening for all the factors. And yes, tornadoes, unfortunately, are also going to be on the table there. So again, keep that in mind. Here's our jet stream image, and this perfectly illustrates that big trough that's going to be moving through and kicking up the potential for some severe weather. Take a look at this center of low pressure that's going to be off the coast of Los Angeles. As that slowly but surely moves on, what it's actually going to be doing is really starting to throw some of those big heights up into Canada. We have a lot of ridging happening, but what it actually is going to be doing is really going to start deepening over the Red River there in portions of Texas, and then really allowing for some of those ridging and troughing mechanisms to kick into action on Tuesday and into Wednesday. Again, one of the main reasons why the Storm Severe Center actually decided to issue that. Here's our temperature outlook. Again, that second week of March. And as we can see, really, really warm weather for portions of Texas. And if you're all the way down at the tip of Florida, yeah, not looking bad whatsoever. Cleveland, Mississippi. Showers, 85 degrees, pretty warm, and a low of 67 degrees. Berlin, New Hampshire, 79 degrees and a low of 47 degrees. And finally, Springfield, Minnesota. Watch out for those thunderstorms there, but 75 degrees and a low of 47 degrees.
Making sure farmers get their share of banana sales. It's a Fresh Produce Friday next. And later, a wild chase along a Nevada interstate. We have the caper caught on camera in the country. Americans eat a lot of bananas every year. Now, one importer is working to make sure farmers get their fair share of the sales. Jennifer Straley of The Packer has more in today's Fresh Produce Fridays.
Equifruit, a Canadian-based importer and marketer of fair trade bananas, is on a mission to ensure farmers are paid fairly.
We want to drive home to people that making an ethical choice, making a sustainable choice for bananas doesn't cost very much money. The average American eats 27 pounds of bananas a year. We estimate that retailers will increase price per pound of bananas by 20 cents, which, if you do the math, is just a shade over $5 a year. We have some really creative ways of reaching retailers and convincing them to list Equifruit fair trade bananas, even though it might cost a little bit more to consumers. So in one recent trade show, we had the theme Make It Rain for Banana Farmers. We have this money gun that shoots out $5 US Equibucks as an expression that it would cost the average consumer only $5 more per year. And in so doing, you can really make a difference in the life of banana growers. Changing global trade, changing the retail golden rule that you can't increase the price on bananas is not for the weak of heart. And so the people who are with us, who understand that hashtag farmers gotta get paid, we call them banana badasses.
While $5 more a year for bananas doesn't sound like much, as Equifruit has found, the long history of low-priced bananas at retail can be challenging to disrupt.
Basically, it's really tough to change streams. If you've had the same communication about low-priced bananas for 100 years, it's very tough for retailers now to face their consumers and say, we had a great run of low price, but now we're going to raise our prices in order to make banana supply chains more sustainable.
Reporting for AgDay, I'm Jennifer Straley with The Packer.
Up next, roadside chaos in Nevada. An interstate chase leads to an arrest of sorts. Details on this caper next. A wild day for workers with the Nevada Department of Transportation, one that caused utter chaos. Their words, not mine. And you can pretty much figure out why just taking a look at this video. They posted this on Facebook saying that NDOT crews had to help corral a runaway cow or heifer that was moving a little too close to traffic near busy Interstate 15. They report that thankfully there were no collisions. That's because they were able to steer the animal away from the interstate and onto a utility road. The animal had reportedly been seen roaming the area for several days, even checking out a nearby racing facility. But when folks there contacted animal control, it made a run for it, speeding away. But this time, animal control was able to rope it. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out on the farm.